So there we are. All right. Welcome to Biz Passion Voice. Thanks for coming and watching our interview today with Barbara Kleeb. All right. I did it again. I have my sound on over here, so I'm gonna turn that off before it freaks me out. Like, I don't want to hear myself. At least it's good audio. All right. So, Barbara is a leadership coach, helping leaders to build trust with their teams, to lead in an authentic and empathic way so that the team loves to work with them and delivers their best. She also has a program called Authentic No, helping people to say no in an authentic way to connect to their center of power and ground themselves. She is a singer-songwriter and has recorded 28 songs on 2 albums with Cuban musicians. The first one named Woman, and the second named Human Psychology. She is also an OBGYN who does surgery. So she is in, she calls it in operations because she's in Switzerland as well.
Yeah.
And she does consultations that include plant medicine, sex therapy, urogynecology as practices. Beautiful. Thanks so much for joining us today, Barbara.
Thank you, Monifa, for the invite. I'm really happy to be with you.
Well, it was inevitable. Number one, Barbara Kleeb is one of my clients, so she does a voice with me, and she's been singing for years, so she just appreciates me as a teacher. But she also studies with others, just because she likes to get the variety of understanding from people. As you can tell, Barbara's a big fan of variety. I think, over here we have to have a name for everything. So we call it like multi-passionate. I was just talking to somebody yesterday about being multi-passionate, or somebody else had a TED talk about being a multi-potentialite, which is not a word, if anybody's wondering. But that's what we get to do as multi-passionate people, is make up how we want to live our lives, right? There are a lot of areas of not just focus, but professionality, like here in your life. And what made you so passionate that you would so persistently, or to such a high level, pursue these different areas?
So first of all, I wanted to say that you're an excellent singing teacher, and I especially love in you that you can make this connection of me with a song, so that the performance is in a very short time. It's totally different. I feel totally different, and the song feels different, and everybody in the audience really can hear that. And it's 100% more touching for the audience. And this is what I really, really appreciate as your superpower, Munifa. So I'm really happy to be here.
Thank you. It's just really amazing to hear. My heart is very warm.
And then, yeah, thank you. And then you were asking why I have so many passions.
Yeah, well, yeah, and I think a lot of us as multi-passionate, at least again, I feel maybe it might be a cultural thing as well, where we feel like you have to choose one. So we kind of maybe make one a profession, but not so much the others. So the others we usually call a hobby, or,
Yes.
So what makes, because for you, I find that you're the one thing for sure is that this is what you want to do. Like each of those things are very sure within you. You're like, I want to help people do this, and you find other ways to share with them how to do it, but it's still very centered as to this is what I'm going to do. Right. And that's true for all of your things. You've been a doctor, you've been a singer, and you've been coaching people, and it's just a matter of we've changed some framework around that. But
yes,
again, it's a very centered thing where it's something that it's very clear that you're not going to change your mind on it.
So actually it's I'm kind of over the doctoring nearly, because I've done
Okay.
this for many, many years. And I find I can help the people or the world more as a coach. Because as a doctor, I took the freedom, maybe by a misconception, of a doctor is there to help people get healthy or stay healthy. That was always my mindset. I'm not sure whether I'm even allowed to do that as a doctor, but that's what I always thought. And therefore I invented a lot of tools for my patients, each one bespoke, to help them to get to a point where they're happier and healthier. And now I find that uh, medicine is more kind of asking you to follow as a certain kind of process, to maybe acquire operation, to make money for a hospital because you're doing the operation. And I'm more into, I want to really help the people to really be this happy, healthy, thriving, authentic, wonderful self full of love that they are meant to be. So and I think I can do that better as a coach than as a doctor now.
Yes, yes. I've met some amazing doctors that have really done the work on finding more holistic solutions for their patients, and it does end up having to kind of come out of the practice because, again, like as you said, the protocols of the clinic or the hospital that you're in. I even saw that in within my own mother. My mom was a nurse midwife for
Yes.
infinite amount of time. And so she, in her frustration with like not having the venue in which to help people get further in their health, so she had to make up her own classes for of women's health classes so that they can learn the stuff they needed to learn to be healthy for themselves and their babies, you know. So it's definitely something that needs to be done, and I think people need to hear from those that are have obviously dedicated their lives to it and are telling them there's also this and there's also these other solutions. So that's really exciting. So when you meet somebody that you think that you can help in this vein, like as a coach, you
Mhm.
know, where are they usually? Where are they looking like? What are they needing from you?
It depends a bit where they stand. Um,
Yeah.
if they are a business leader and they're maybe in a position where they cannot have the job that they really want,
Mm.
then I have to help them get visible, to maybe talk with more gravitas, but also to get over wrong mindsets and stuff that they didn't get right in their childhood, like lack of unconditional love, let's say, stuff like this, or wrong mindsets or traumas or whatever, that made them be in this place where they cannot really show up in this wonderful quality and as this wonderful human being that they are. And then I help them to step up and to speak out and speak with a maybe louder voice, center their body, as well as overcoming those mindsets.
Beautiful. So when they meet you, they're essentially they want something that may be a bigger dream or like a better job or um what about the people um that are essentially they just know the way that they've been leading isn't working for them anymore? Like
Yes.
managers, that kind of thing. Um are they do they usually have because when I know for people that are tend to already be in leadership, they're just looking to be more powerful almost. They're not necessarily like they don't realize that it's going to take more vulnerability from them or more authenticity. So I'm just wondering, like, what are they hitting up against by the time they figure out I need help with this, you know?
They're in a point of frustration or feeling that they're not looked at, or that yeah they're losing their team members that they really want to attract because they may be too rigid and too much. I call it OCD. It's a wrong term, but maybe too kind of fixed on processes. That's an interesting thing that I see nowadays. I think we will have a paradigm shift from process-oriented thinking to system thinking. And
Interesting.
I didn't know that for a long time,
Yeah.
that I have this natural ability, but this is what made it possible for me to do so many things. Because I can step up and look at from the mountaintop while a professor is having a lecture, and then in the end, I know which questions are not answered. And I caught myself many times to have the question, and then often I didn't ask it, but then a professor asked it. So I mean, this stuff is kind of, I'm getting this stuff because I'm having this natural ability of what is called system thinking, which would be linked to many books, but the way of thinking, that's really what I'm doing for my whole life.
Yeah, it sounds like, that's very true. I feel like people are always looking at the process and trying to improve the steps, but they aren't seeing, like, the whole thing and seeing if they can maybe even use a whole nother system or like different steps or different goals so that some steps aren't required, right? Um, so yeah, that's really cool. That's really cool. So when the first time, like, was it a lecture that you realized, oh, this is just the way
It
I
was
think?
I met it is my partner is in the he's having a course where he's teaching people how system thinking as a way of thinking works. It's called
Mhm.
31 Principles of System Thinking, because there's a course in the Open University, and they found out that after the course, only 5% of the people are actually able to think that way, which is kind of
Mm,
frustrating if you really study the whole study, and then after
you
only
still can't
5%
figure it
are.
out.
And I met one of the professors of the Open University, and we had this talk. And then he said, "Yeah, I don't like to talk to beginners like that. You have to read some books." So I read 2 books as well, that I know this kind of thinking. And I'm in a group where we're having discussions. I'm more the practical, and but it's what I'm doing, the way I'm perceiving. I'm kind of seeing systems, I would say.
Beautiful, beautiful. Yeah, and I think it's some people, their brain is kind of wired that way. Um, but I don't think it's impossible. I feel like, yes, the right teacher can kind of shift your perception, so I'm interested in how your partner decides to develop that, because somebody who's actually paying attention might find a solution for that. So cool. So next thing I want to kind of ask is always kind of a personal question to me, because for me, when I shifted the way I coach and what I focus on when I coach voice, it was so much going up against the established way of thinking, like academia, like this the whole church of classical music and like all of this that made it really intimidating to speak about the way I thought, singing worked and the way I thought voice impacted people, you know.
Mhm.
What did I felt like, again, you're so strong in your ideas. I'm wondering, if there's ever been a thing that's kind of helped got in your way when you're trying to talk about your way of dealing with medicine or your way of getting people to health and whole mindedness. And um, was there, do you feel like you're restricted in talking about it at all? Or is it kind of just
I
been
would say
what's you
I'm
think?
just a lifelong learner.
Yeah.
I mean, I was suffering in some team situations in hospitals because there are personality disorders in leadership and stuff like this, which is not nice to be, because I think everybody should be appreciated. And even in medicine, you could have different opinions. But what I want to actually talk about is not this, but it is kind of this transformational, the most transformational moment for me, maybe. What I did was a course in sex therapy that works with the body, and gives different exercises that people can do at home, and how to get more connected to their feelings when they're having sex and whatever sexual problem they have, so that they can have more intensified orgasms and stuff like this. And in this course, we had a class where you could just it's called modeling, where you could just play little stories. Like I had to take care for an African baby, to show my caring side, and little stories like that. And I had to perform in public, and everybody was watching me and was taking notes. And it wasn't allowed, they were not allowed to criticize, they were just allowed to give supportive comments. And I was very fast, and I was having loads of ideas. I remember I was sweating and stuff like this. And internally I thought, oh, I'm not having enough ideas. I'm boring and stuff like this. So afterwards, the people said, oh, you were so fast and you had so many ideas, we couldn't even write it down. And I was like, whoa, the way people are perceiving me is totally different than what I am. And what my problem was, I was always too fast. So what I had to learn, and in the beginning, this was kind of hard, to be slower. And this slowness also raised my empathy level, and it really transformed my whole way of being. And I take this example because this is such a strong example of a physical change that changes the whole mindset, the whole perception, and actually makes you a different person. That was really, really important thing for me.
So that's really interesting, because I've seen, sexuality courses where it's mostly personal work you're doing with yourself to like kind of to just allow you to be more, like you said, have like better orgasms, or but have a very more pleasant sexual, or more, sexual experiences. I have not heard of like kind of this class element where, you're kind of interacting with others. I feel maybe, again, it gives you that kind of sense of almost a performing a sense of vulnerability, right? Which all kind of performance requires, but it's a big ask for people who are not performers. You know what I'm saying? Like, so did the rest of the class, did they have to do something similar, or
I
did
was
they have their own
volunteering. I
things?
always volunteered because I'm really excited to learn and to take opportunities like this. And
Yeah,
it was about 20% or less of the people who volunteered for
who
that.
actually ended
But
up doing it.
all were very transformed.
Beautiful, because I mean that work, like you're saying, that the transform, like translating the physical into the experiential, right? It's very, very transforming. I feel like it's an element of what I'm doing with people as well. And so yeah, that the passion portion is what allows you to have a different experience, like, to the actual physical work is what
And
allows you
the
to have
way,
a.
sorry,
Go
I'm
ahead. I was
sorry.
just going to repeat myself. Go ahead.
And the way this school, I wanted to say a little bit, the way this school works is, or this way, it's called approche sexocorporelle. It's really, you get to know and to really watch the body language of people, and you give them physical exercises like how they can connect the upper and the lower body better, like we do automatically when we're coughing or laughing. And it is a very, very fine-tuned way of guiding people to get to this alignment of the body, and I've learned a lot from that.
Beautiful. That sounds exciting. Was that in Switzerland, or it sounds?
That was in Switzerland, and it is a Canadian
It's a
who
Canadian.
invented
Was
that. Yeah, yeah. But the
the
professor,
name was that
approche
in?
sexocorporelle,
Is
is
that?
Canadian. It's
Okay,
French.
it's French. That's what I was wondering. It's
Yeah.
like that doesn't sound Swedish. Um, or
Swiss
Swedish,
is
Swiss.
German. Swiss
Wow.
German. Sorry.
Sorry. But yeah, no, and now I'm wondering, how many languages do you speak? Because I feel like you're very adept with English. And the
Yeah.
French was actually the best I've heard since I've been in class with IB. Like I've heard a lot of broken like French and like colloquial French, but that was really clear. What is yeah, how many languages do you know?
French, Italian, Spanish, English, what else? German, Swiss German.
Yeah. Holy cow.
Some phrases of Swedish and some phrases of Thai.
Cool. Wow. My idol. I've always wanted to be able to speak another language. I just find it fascinating. I mean, especially with all the things you're up to, like that you also spent time with these languages long enough to speak them. That's amazing and beautiful, and speaks also to your openness and desire to communicate with others, in my opinion, as well. That I think learning another language really means that you're wanting to connect to another culture, right? You want to know the way they think, the way they speak, the way they're,
Yes, yes, yes.
yeah, it's beautiful.
But it's also in Switzerland, we are learning languages quite fast. And I think this is when you're learning it as a child. I always wanted to learn English when I was even in kindergarten. I took my father's book. I wanted him to teach me English, and then he didn't. And then I took his book and I learned the 3 first chapters by heart, just because I was so curious in that. I really wanted to know this language.
That's so amazing. But yeah, but like again, like that's amazing. So, and most people that I know that have just decided to learn English is either part of their schooling, from other countries. It's either part of their schooling or something their parents told them they had to do. Like it was kind of what they was on the way there. But you're telling me you literally just stole the book. You borrowed the book so that you could learn it because you were interested.
Yeah. I wanted it.
Yeah, that's awesome. I borrowed the science encyclopedias in my mom's room, because they were in her room, because it's like our biggest purchase that we had made that year.
Kids want to learn. And
Yeah.
if you I think it's also kind of, we have I didn't suffer at school from the school system. I liked it at school, at least when I was in the classroom. I didn't like to do the homework, but I think if you can take the kid and take the curiosity that it has and feed it and make it interactive and stuff, then school is even fun and cool.
Yeah, especially if they can see what they want to know about in the process, which I think some teachers do really great with, but I think the system, at least here, it does not help at all. But yeah, so cool. My last question, and this is again one of those things that I know that we kind of already spoken to a bit, but I want a story as well, some kind of story about how voice helps you do the work that you do.
There was a patient of mine. She's a business leader. She was a CEO of a family business in they sell houses. I don't know how it is called. And she was suffering. She couldn't sleep, and she was very nervous. And then I was asking her a bit what she had, and she had a sister who was very traumatizing to her. And then I asked her, can you say no? Because I sensed that this is what she has to learn. And then she said no. And I taught her to say no, but I taught her in a kind of how to stand there and how to use the voice and you can hear in the voice whether somebody is assertive or not. And if you
Mhm.
can hear that somebody is assertive, people are just doing what they say. And this is very important for leaders. You can call it gravitas or whatever. But if you can speak as a leader that everybody can hear your authority, there's a whole brimborium and theater and management that you don't have to be. You can just be a leader and
Mhm.
and and embody leadership. That's what's really interesting me, and I think this is so powerful, and it's so fun, and people love leaders like that.
Yes. And they like people love strong leadership. So if the more certain you are, the more authoritative you are in the voice, and then again, if it's a true authority, if it's an inner authority, there's not a push there. It's just what is, right? And so when you can speak that way and speak clearly, and there's no question that the person doesn't have to question you, they don't have to figure it out themselves, right?
Exactly.
Like
and
there's a lot of power there,
and then
Go
my
ahead.
patient learned that. And when
Hmm.
she could just say, we were just learning to say the word no and align the body of her to really say it. And
Hmm.
then she could go to her business. She could lead her business. Her sister just say the way. She could sell the houses and make a lot of money. And all
Yeah.
the other brothers and sisters were supporting her and kind of admiring what she did. And this
Wow.
traumatic sister just stayed out of the way.
That's amazing.
This
That's
is really
amazing.
powerful. Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I think that's a beautiful story, and it's a great way to have a vision into the what it can look like if you take that authority, if you learn how to use your voice to create those things, like, and to be certain about it, to be so to go from a place where people aren't acknowledging what you want, being, therefore being traumatized by it, and then to a place where you're saying it so clearly that people are respecting you and things are getting done, right? That's
Yes,
amazing.
exactly. And you can also hear how you are saying it. It's kind of, I think it's also kind of developing empathy in a way. It's not the only thing that I help. If somebody needs to develop more empathy, that is one of the tools to
Hmm.
hear how your voice sounds. I have others. It's not just so easy, but it is easy in a way.
It
If
is when you're paying attention. It is when
exactly.
you're paying attention, and that's the thing. Like, I called it one of my superpowers, but I think everybody has it. It's just that you have to build awareness around it. But that's one of the things I hear when people are like speaking, and people have really amazing ideas. They have really amazing work, and they're trying to talk about it, but it's all like this, and everyone's going, and I'm just like, I literally, and I'm interested, and I'm not paying attention, right? Like, it's very important to
Exactly.
to have an embodied voice, because it can be the best idea in the world, and people just can't connect to it if you're not connected.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Barbara. I really appreciate you being here. As you can tell,
Thank you.
Barbara is like amazing. She's amazing,
As
super
are you,
intelligent.
Monifa.
Aw, thank
Thank
you.
you.
Super intelligent, and has so many ways to really get people on the right track with whatever they want to lead people into next, right? And so I encourage you to seek her out. You'll see her links below the video, for her website and her YouTube page, where you'll get to experience her music, which is super unique and has great messages that can really impact your life. And you can't say that for all music. So I recommend you check it out. Thanks again,
Thank you so
Barbara.
much.
You're
You're lovely, Monifa.
welcome.
Mwah.
Nah. She always says this to me, so I'm going to do it even though it's not my thing. Ciao.